Hello everyone, this is Supreet Kadakol, Faculty in Zoology, Sri Venkatramana College, Bantwal, Mangalore. So today in this session we'll discuss about animal behavior. Under that mainly we need to study about what are the types of behavior, what type of animals shows different types of behavior, mainly birds, fishes. So moving to the introduction, what do you mean by animal behavior? So we all know that each and every organism move from one place to another place, maybe in search of food, shelter or anything for its survival. So now this migration can be random or can be geometrical or can be unexceptional. So now this type of migrations which we all see in different types of animals. So usually this migration, it is derived from the word migrare, a Latin word which means to go from one place to another. So as I was telling, it might be a periodic or directed travel or due to environmental changes like flood or drought condition, the animals migrate from one place to another. So you might have seen there may be a mass migration like wild beasts in Africa or elephants in India. So now, or there can be a single animal migrating, individual migration or the mass migration of species. So that comes under types. So now the definition goes like this. The migration is a mass directional movement of a large number of species from one habitat to the another. So examples, as I was telling, the migration of locust swamps. So recently in Rajasthan we have seen this. The swamps, they flew from Pakistan, and continental journey of birds. The largest or the longest distance covering birds, they flew or they fly from southern hemisphere to the northern hemisphere. And translocation movement of eels, the movement of crabs. So these are some of the examples in which animals we can see the migration. So now, what is phenology? So it is a phenomenon in which the animals are in relations to change during climatic or other ecological condition. So that is known as phenology. So now this phenology and animal migration, they work hand on hand. So due to the change in climatic condition, the animals move due to the different ecological factors, maybe in climatic condition or maybe in food survival, availability or survival, the animals migrate from one place to another. So now what do you mean by migration? So we are discussing the anything. It may be a regular, irregular movement of animals from one place to another. So that is called as the migration. So why this migration is required? So what helps these animals for migration? So we know sustained movement, maybe for survival, physical endurance, maybe to survival of the climatic condition, mechanism for storing energy. That's what, once if the northern hemisphere is too much cold, they fly towards the southern hemisphere or the southern pole. So during that time the energy can be stored. And also this migration ensures all the animals, they have adequate food supplies and also to able to reproduce. So we know that some fishes, they move from seawater to freshwater to lay their eggs, and there are some fishes which move from freshwater to seawater to lay their eggs. So this type of behavior we can see in fishes. And also in frogs we can see a behavior like they move from water to the terrestrial habitat to lay their eggs. So it is also a type of migration which we can see in different organisms. So as per the evolutionary model of migration, so this migration is subdivided into individual migration and species migration. So individual migration is the type of migration where a single animal will be moving from one place to another place. So under individual migration, we are having two types, that is accidental and non-accidental. So accidental migration can be of maybe caused by the climatic condition or the natural calamities like tsunami or floods or maybe the drought condition. So non-accidental may be in search of food or maybe in search of shelter. So under non-accidental, you are having non-calculated and calculated. So as we were discussing about the mass species moving, so calculated number of animals may be the alpha males or the juvenile organisms only move. In some fishes, the movement of males and some juveniles we can say, but there will be no movement of females and the young ones because they have to be maintaining their adequate food condition and shelter. So under non-calculated, there is dispersal, exploratory, removal, and under calculated there is periodic and seasonal. So this is about the evolutionary model of migration which was given by Baker in the year 1978. So now next we'll move on to types of migration. So under types of migration, so under this, the migration may differ from species to species because of their fixed pattern of behavior or maybe the type of behavior which is naturally selected. So now, so as we are seeing here, the migration may occur as a round trip or a return migration. So some animal move only in one directional. Some animal they come in under bidirectional. Once the movement is completed or the season is done, they come back to their native place or to their native habitat. So this is about the round trip and return migration. So now, why and when do the animals migrate? So now some animals, as I said, during the different temperature variation or different types of inadequacy of food, so during that time they migrate. But there are some hormones they also trigger for mating purpose. So as we know, some birds they come to shore for mating, like river terns, Arctic tern, they come for shore for mating purpose, so that food is available maximum and they can feed their young ones. So due to the hormonal triggers also, there may be or there will be migration. So this is due to internal signals. Next, external signal, as I was telling about temperature changes, daylight and scare of food supply. So this is how when the animals migrate. So how do animals know where to go? During migration, okay, you might have seen once the sun starts to set in evening, all birds they make their noise and they return to their nest. So as we can see in the nature, due to the sunlight, due to the wind, or due to the landmarks. So even birds, they are good navigators as by seeing the external forces. So by external forces, wind, water current, maybe by landmarks, mountains, rivers, and the habitats which they can see from the upper surface. And also sun, to track their passage day and nights, and also the position, also to know their relationship between the sun. So also some birds, they are very good and they are also sensitive to the minerals, that is about the magnetite. So which part of the earth which is having maximum amount of iron content, so that is how they can make the sensations. So they are mainly found in different types of animals. Also the animals use earth magnetite to fill their guides, like the whales, to which part they are migrating. So usually the large amount of magnetite in there, mainly they help in navigation about 10,000 miles journey. So whales are very large and they migrate from one distance to very long distance. So now this migration, is it a behavior or it is an instinct one? So as we are saying, the migration, it is a intensive. They fly without a guidance, and as per the previous experience, and also they use little about their directional clues, and they start learning migration behavior for most animals for their survival. So if you have confusion between behavior and instinct, so the migration, they are mainly instinctive, and also mainly they fly for their guidance. So once they don't have any guidance, they learn migrations. So what type of behaviors you can see in the migration? So now the most of the animals must learn their migratory routes. It is true that the animals should know their migratory route. Once they are moving from one place to another place, they are having their own sensation to make their migration or routes or migratory routes. So older member of the group teaches how the migratory route has to be done to the younger animals. The routes they travel through valuable strategies, like to which habitat they are passing, through what type of rivers, what type of water bodies they come across. So that type of small navigations and orientation, they make their migration behaviors. So what causes the migration? So we all know that each and every organism, they move from one place to place in search of food. Climatic condition changes, adverse climatic conditions becomes, then they move from one harsh condition to the normal condition. And also the change in direction of sun, maybe daytime and nighttime, even that is a shorter type of migration we can see. So the first one, storage of food. So once the food is adequate, the migration is less, but once the food start to scarcity, the migration of the birds or animals will be more. Then the environmental factors. So in environmental factors, maybe temperature changes, maybe the natural calamities, and the internal factors, like as we have discussed, hormonal imbalance, photoperiodism, and fat deposition. So these are the causes for migrations. So next we will move on to the pattern of migrations. So there are three types of migrations in their pattern. One is diurnal and tidal movement. Second one is seasonal movement between their habitats. And third is long distance migration. So coming to the first one, diurnal and tidal movement. So now, what is this tidal movement and diurnal? So in tidal movement, we can see the animals, they are coming from one habitat to another and back repeatedly during their lifetime. So what happens? The time scale involved may be in hours, days or months. Then the movement will be maintaining from one organism to the same habitat. So once the animal is moving from one place to another, they have to come back to their native habitat. Maybe it is regular or irregular. So that is tidal movement. Example, so crabs move with the advance and retreat in the tides. So what is this diurnal? So diurnal, daytime and nighttime. So the individual involved in moving between two habitats. Example is plankton. So planktonic algae, what they do? They come to the surface during daytime for photosynthesis and they move to the deeper or to the lower side for the accumulation of nutrients. So if the plankton, they are coming on the surface, then we'll term it as epilimnion, epi, upper, hypolimnion when they are moving towards the lower surface. So next, seasonal movement between the habitat. So we know that many motile animals, so they make seasonal move between their habitat. The path of their environment in which resources are available changes seasonals, and the population move from one patch to the other patch. So next, so in this seasonal movement, as we can see in, take example in Himalayan ranges itself. So as we move from mean sea level to the upper surface, there is temperature variations. So there are some organisms or animals, they come to the foothills of Himalayas during winters so that they can tolerate the cold temperature. And once this summer is there, then they move towards the altitudinal region or they move towards the upper hills. So example is the mule deer and American elk. In America, they move from highest peak to the foothills and they move back to their highest peak during the conditions are warmer. So next is long distance migration. So in this long distance migration, usually birds and mammals, they come under long distance migration. So as I was discussing about the birds, they move from northern hemisphere to southern hemisphere during cold condition for in search of food or in search of mating. So these are the organisms, they come under long distance migration. So example are swallows. So usually they move from south savannas in autumn, and when the food becomes abundant, then only they come back. So what type of animals usually migrate? So birds, fishes, mammals, reptiles, amphibians and even invertebrates, they migrate. So till now we have discussed what is migration, what are the types, pattern and some examples how the animals move from one place to another place and what are the factors that affect migration. So in next session we'll study detailed migration about fishes and birds, about their orientation and navigation.